just having a meltdown. That's all. Nothing to see here. Just technology meltdown. But I love it. I love technical issues that I need to try and fix. Here she is. Right, you're on mute. I'm adding you in. Right, we're on.
Great.
God's sake. How are you, mate? Don't freeze. Do not freeze.
Then,
Right, okay. It's you were glitching there a wee bit. You still are. It's okay.
yeah.
Right, I've got you now. How are you?
Okay, good. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I was a wee bit stressed there, to be honest. It's technology, isn't it? Like everything
Ah,
works fine until you need it to work and then nothing works. Why?
you're doing so well and you're so proactive. And
Thank you. I appreciate that because
I appreciate who you are and how you show up.
thank you, Syria. How have you been? Bit of a health scare
Good.
for you?
Yeah, health scare and lots of people dying. It's just been such a bizarre time.
I
So,
thought your story was quite strange where you had that feeling, that premonition,
yeah.
where I don't know if I'm allowed to kind of share while you're on with the
Yeah, you're
group what
welcome
kind of
to. Yeah,
happened.
yeah, you're welcome
So
to.
Zaria had a kind of just what happened? You had a thought possibly that
I just kept feeling like I needed to get in touch with this guy who I dated like 30 years ago, who I worked with. And I kept having a feeling, and I said to my kids, he keeps popping up for me. And they said, well, call him. And I said, oh, he's an alcoholic. He's really not easy, man. And they said, Mom, your intuition tends to be right. You need to call. And so I called and the phone was cut off. And I was like, that's unusual because he often says I'm one of the few people who ever call him. So there's no way he would block my number. And I tried to message, and then I saw that he hadn't been online for a month on Facebook. So I thought I'm going to just look through his Facebook friends, and I found his brother. So I just randomly messaged his brother and said, I don't know if you've seen your brother lately, but I've got a bad feeling. And he said, oh, I'm sure he's fine. I said, I don't think he's fine. I think he's passed away, and I think you need to go and
no,
check.
stop it right now. That is
And
such a
so
strong intuition. Like that's
yeah, I said to him, I think you should call the council and police because I don't want you arriving and then having to find your brother dead. And he went up, and his brother had passed away, and the neighbors had called the council and the police.
wow.
But his ex wife and the mum of his children wouldn't have known because nobody got in touch with them
And
unless
you
I
just
had
had that feeling.
contacted them
That
and
just
said,
shows you, right? Everyone has to now listen to their intuition, that gut feeling,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Well,
But
good.
it's interesting because you wanted to talk about attachment today.
I
And one of
did.
the interesting things is folk who have come from neglect or abuse or folk who have been brought up in environments where there is addiction or there is are mental health issues, we often become more hypervigilant and noticing patterns and things, and we've had to be over functioning in ourselves, and that often we don't necessarily always know the difference between intuition or a
That's so
panicking
weird.
out of ourselves.
You've really, because I've always felt this. So you know how we were talking, and you said that I've been over functioning in relationships due to like keeping everybody happy, my mum happy. So I
Yeah.
notice honestly a temperature change of 1 degree, then I can possibly sit and overthink it. What's wrong with that person? Is it something I've done? And I used to think, is it intuition or am I just, I was very doubtful of myself. I was never able to trust that intuition. So that's so interesting you've said that.
Yes.
Really have unpacked me, Syria. You really
That's
have
so
you.
funny. That's so funny because if you're like that and you don't know what's going to come at you, you don't know, and you know that if you meet somebody else's needs, then they will be calmer and treat you better. Then you're always
Yes,
on edge. What do I need to do to make sure that they are calm so I feel okay?
Yeah. Oh
But that
my
sets
God.
us up for codependent relationships where we
Yep.
only okay if they're okay. And if they're not okay, then we panicky.
Yep.
And then that either creates, if we've had parents like that, often anxious attachment, where we want, where we're desperate for other people's validation. If you tell me I'm okay, then I'm good. Then I'm a good human
100%.
being.
So
And then
I've
we
always
go into
seeked
the
that
people
type.
pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People pleasing. I've always seeked outside validation. So I would be doing things for other people all the time, nothing for myself,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I actually kind of gives you low self esteem in the end, really. So then
It
you're thinking,
does.
why have
And
I got low self esteem? But it's because of that. You're not doing anything for you.
absolutely. And one of the little things that you can do is see when you're talking to somebody, notice if you close your eyes and you think of them, notice when you're talking to them, are you looking up at them or you're looking down at them? Because if you're
Right.
looking up at them, you're valuing them and they're like, bestow your validation on me so I feel like a good human being. When you look down on them, you're like, you're nothing to me. I don't need you. I can be avoidant. I've learned that people are not reliable and safe, so I'm going to just keep my distance from you.
It's so true.
And so we need to, when we're talking, if you're somebody who's anxious, before you speak, imagine speaking to the person, lift yourself up so your eyes are equal, your hearts are equal, and then speak from a truth of knowing your worth. I'm so worthy and deserving of respect and value. We're equal human beings.
I think it's quite hard when I was first doing this kind of work on myself and realised that I was anxious attachment. I was ticking all the boxes, the fear of abandonment. But you really were a light bulb moment in the over functioning in relationships and why I was doing this sort of having people on the back burner just to talk to, probably giving myself a less of a over functioning type of relationship. How do you not seek outside validation?
Yeah, so a few things that are important is when we first need to catch that overfunctioning in ourselves,
Yes.
because often we're just doing it on automation because we had to do it for survival. And we don't want to shame that part because that part kept us alive.
100%, yeah.
So it was a brilliant strategy. So we can say, thanks, younger me, for keeping me alive. That was
Yes.
fabulous, but it's not good for me now.
It was a bit chaotic, but
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really sorry about the hell you went through. But this is going to cause more hell if we keep doing it because we're going to get involved in people who are going to take advantage of us and not care for us. And so then we need to come home to ourselves and notice when I'm over functioning for them, who's home for me?
yeah,
When I'm over there for them, I'm abandoning myself. And so then we need to tune into ourselves before we thinking, what does everybody else need? Pausing. What do I need to do today to feel loved in myself?
it's an easy but hard question, isn't it?
Really hard.
Because,
It's excruciating.
yeah,
Yeah.
I find that with people who struggle to, on this continuous loop of not being able to lose weight, and I think a big part of it is not understanding this part of themselves, not understanding that they're probably putting themselves to the bottom of the list and they aren't able to show themselves that compassion to then start to be healthier and lose weight. They're kind of stuck in this sort of loop. So for you just to say to start the day, how am I going to actually treat myself today, feel better today, take care of myself, is just where it starts. Even if it's just to clean the
But
flat for
even
you.
that is like, that's like the second question. The first question is, how am I feeling?
Yes.
Like, let me just tune into myself. So I have this word safe, an acronym, and you want to check into your sensations for S,
Okay.
what you were aware of for A, your thoughts, the images in your head, like, oh, I'm fat and ugly and in myself. The images or the thoughts that you have about yourself. F, your feelings. I feel discouraged. I feel low in myself. And then your energy. I feel really flat and drained. Oh, okay. And then we want to get ourselves safe, breathe, regulate, get into our bodies, in our energy, in our thought, and go, okay, I can see why I'm feeling like this because I've given to everybody else and I'm empty.
Yeah.
And if I keep giving from empty, I'm going to be depleted. And then the people around me are going to get it. They're going to get my resentment. They're going to get my bitterness. They're going to get my overwhelm. And so if I don't express what I feel and need now, I'm going to become toxic towards them because I'm going to make them wrong for my inability to care for me.
Yes. So true. Because
And
that's
yeah,
the thing. It's, you kind of project when you feel that way. You feel the resentment, and you're like, they aren't doing this for me, and I've done it for them, and you then hold this resentment and sort of project it onto the person because you don't really know where to put this anger and hurt, instead of going, well, do you know what? I actually can't do that to them because it's me. It's not taking care of myself. It's that
yes,
responsibility for your own feelings and your care and yourself, isn't it?
absolutely. But it's not your fault because if you had a chaotic family where you were giving to everybody else and you were taught to neglect yourself for everybody else, you don't have that capacity to tune into you, to know what you need and express what you need. And so instead, when you've received criticism and complaint and floods from everybody else growing up, then you don't know how to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I need,
Yeah.
please. And it's such a simple thing to turn to somebody and go, gosh, I feel really shattered today. Do you think you could cook the dinner tonight? What I really fancy is this. It would make me feel so happy to have the dinner cooked for me. Like I would just feel so loved. Would you mind doing that for me tonight, please, as a favor to me? Isn't that so much better
Yeah, it's
than
lovely. I'm about to cook your
cooking the
dinner.
dinner, slamming everything? I do
Yeah.
everything for you. I'm so sick of it. You
Yeah.
don't love me. You
They're
don't
sitting there like
care.
that. What happened? Yeah. Yeah. It's happened loads of times, you know what I mean? It's that collecting the tokens, I'm doing stuff, and then I'll just chuck it back in your face soon, you know what I mean? But you shouldn't be doing it for those reasons. Right,
Yeah.
we have went off on a tangent slightly, so will we get back to our attachment styles then?
Great. So that was
Fine.
anxious. We want to shift from if you are an anxious person to tuning to yourself, knowing you have the capacity to care for yourself and respond to yourself, and then you want to shift out of complaint into making a clear request. Hey, this is what I feel. This is what I need. Would you do me a favor and love me and care for me? So that's anxious attachment. We look at avoidant attachment. They are have learned that people are not going to be there for emotions, and emotions are bad and wrong.
Okay.
Emotions at some point have got them into trouble, or they've been shamed for them, like a boy being told, oh, stop being such a girl, there's something wrong with you. Or if you have had a helicopter parent who's like, oh my darling, what's wrong with you, oh my god, and you're like, I'm not going to feel anything because this
Yes.
parent is so sticky and intrusive that I'm going to have nothing that they can take from me,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just
Wow.
going to be cut off and distant because nobody's going to suck me dry. So I'm just empty from having an over involved, engulfing
What?
mother.
Oh
And then
my
you're like,
God.
no, don't come at me with any of your stuff because my mother I had to give so much to her and be there for her that I cannot any longer be there for anybody else.
So in relationships, you're very much, people could describe you as cold, or you're like a cold person. So,
Yes.
but you're just
But
a bit
if we
shut
look at
off.
it, you are shut off because emotions don't feel safe.
Okay.
And they feel uncomfortable and you feel ashamed and feel they don't feel natural and easy in your body. And also, if you, especially a man, if you have been somebody who has been taught you have to be big, strong, show no emotions because otherwise you're not a man. And so anytime you feel a little bit of emotion, it just spins you out to huge emotions where you can only express rage, because that men can only generally, Terry Real says, men can only express rage or lust. That's all that's allowed.
Wow. I mean, it's
So that,
particularly in Scotland, to be honest. A lot of these types
yes.
of guys that you're describing, it's because it's like, you imagine it's like these hard Scottish dads that are like,
Mhm.
oh no, you better man up, son, and all
Yeah.
this kind of chat. So you do find that it's harder for guys, especially a bit my age or a bit older, that they can't open up the same.
Absolutely. And then they're so scared of criticism and have a very fragile sense of self because they always have to look good. Otherwise, they're not man enough, they're not strong enough, they're not good enough. And so they're very sensitive to being told, you don't make me happy, or why haven't you done this? Because they don't know how to feel any of their emotions. So they just flip to shutdown or rage
Yeah.
because that's all they've got access to because they haven't been taught to process their emotions.
So is that less kind of common in females, this kind of sort of anxious
Way, way less.
avoidance? Is it way less in women?
Way
So,
less. The
wow.
majority of people who are avoidant are men. Because of that, you shouldn't feel anything that men have grown up with. But many women have grown up with that too, but it's way more in men who are avoidant because they just have been taught that they have to um, shut themselves down to be seen as a good enough male.
So how do you go about shifting that type of mindset then?
It takes a lot of negotiation and a lot of safety. So, where we're saying with somebody anxious that if you go to somebody and complain and go, oh, you never help me, he will either go into shutdown because he's not good enough or rage of, oh, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do it yourself? Because they feel so ashamed that they're going to put that shame onto you.
Yeah.
But instead, if we shift into making a request, hey, this is what I need, please, just in a really simple way. They want to make us happy because happiness makes them feel good.
Yes.
And so when we can speak in a place that is requesting, it is easier for them to bridge that because they know on the other side, we're going to be delighted with them. And there's
So
a
you're
level of
giving that
negotiation.
guiding light there. You're giving
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And the other part of it is sharing specifically what you need. So instead of telling somebody, you're doing this wrong, you don't care about me, what's wrong with you? Of, oh, I don't need you to try and fix me and tell me how to feel better. You want to say to them, hey, I had this issue at work and I feel overwhelmed and scared and desperate. And what I really need from you is some empathy. What that would sound like is, that really sucks, or that's so hard. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Those are the words that I really need. So now, can I tell you the story? And could you say those sorts of things to me? I don't need to be fixed. I just need to know that you care and you love me, and what I'm feeling is okay.
So it is basically, here's these instructions for this.
Yeah. Very clear, specific instructions that are heart to heart, eye to eye. We're equal in this. I'm not less than you, desperately needing validation. I'm just deregulated because I've had a bad day and I want to be loved through this.
Right, okay. Makes perfect sense. I think you've
Yeah,
just
and it's
fixed a lot of West of Scotland relationships there.
really, that's how
Yeah,
everybody, majority of people are.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of kind of, why are you not helping me? I'm trying to do this for my health. And then there's maybe that shutdown and not supportive husband. It's what I kind of see with clients. They're coming, they're trying to be healthy and they're maybe being a wee bit of a pain in the arse with it, and the husband will just shut down. And I'm always like, obviously, I'm in a same sex relationship, so I'm in the best, but the men will just shut down and be a bit unsupportive, and then it can become even more of an uphill battle for the women to do the
Yes.
health
So
journey.
as a woman, and this sounds weird, but as a woman, you want to put it across to them and the benefit that it's going to be for them. Hey, babe,
Yes.
I want to get fit so that I feel sexy. I want to make love to you.
Oh,
I am
don't make false promises now,
have more
girls.
energy. Huh?
Yeah. I'm telling the girls not to make any false promises with that one, but
Yes, but that's what I want to feel like. And if I am feeling more energized, then I will have more energy to do the things that I love with you.
I'll be in a great mood. Like,
We'll be able to go walks together.
happy wife, happy life, all that. You've frozen because it's so true. Ah, I've got you now. But it is, I
So
do
when we
see a
can
lot
put
of
it
that.
across, yeah. If we just going, you don't care about me and you don't give me time to do the things that I love, they're just going to feel bitter and resentful. But if you
Yes.
put it across to them of, I want this time so that I feel happier, and the time that we have together, I've got more energy, I've got more vitality, and I'm feeling great about myself.
It sounds
And then,
much more appealing.
yeah, yeah,
So it's the same as well when people who don't want to drink alcohol, like, so you'll say to somebody, no, I don't want to drink alcohol, and you get a kind of like loads of abuse. Oh, come on, you're rubbish when you don't drink alcohol. But if you say to somebody, I'm not going to drink alcohol because I've been feeling brilliant and I want to keep feeling good, very rarely somebody will still try and force you to drink alcohol because you've just listed all these positive things. So they can't come in and go, psh, wrecking ball.
yeah,
So the same
yeah,
sort of applies for women to get their Jim, their husband, to support them, as say, listen, this is all the benefits that you will see if you can just help me a bit.
yes. And on the other side of that, if a husband is feeling like reticent and not giving the time of day, the other part of it is calling out the patriarchy
Oh yeah,
and
we love to
saying
do
to
this, don't
them,
we?
it's really important is to say, hey, I'm noticing that in our relationship, I'm not getting my needs met. And
Yeah.
I get that it's not your fault that we grew up in patriarchy and women were taught that they're less than and they don't matter as much. But in this relationship, we're a team and I want to feel like an equal.
So I
Where
don't
both
want to
of our
keep
time
pairing your
matters.
fucking socks. I don't want to pair
Yeah.
your socks. I don't want to pack your holiday suitcase no more. Isn't it?
It's madness. It's madness that
Don't
we
start.
keep,
I know.
yeah, that we keep thinking that as women we need to be in that position. But it is understandable too that women are scared to call that out. And there is what Terry Real calls a conspiracy of silence around confronting patriarchy because we might receive their anger, we might receive a stonewalling, we may receive being shamed and belittled for standing up for ourselves, or they might have a breakdown because they're so ashamed that they think they're such a great feminist and they've grown so much, but then they realize,
I'm
oh my
fucking
God,
up.
I interrupt her. I don't give her time. I don't care about her. It's just feminism in words, but not in any actions. And so then they have a breakdown because you've confronted them. So it makes sense that it's scary for women to actually make a stand because the risk is high. But if we don't make a stand and we don't rock the boat and we don't draw attention to the imbalance, then nothing will change and we will just be bitter, old, twisted people
I'm
who don't,
raging now. Now,
yeah,
Zaria, I'm like that thinking of all these men like that. Bastards. I'm going to go out and call it on my Instagram right now, this male patriarchy. But it is shocking. And I find it really frustrating for me when I do have women on their health journey and it does seem to be a sabotaging situation with a husband because she's fucking doing everything. She doesn't have time to go to the gym. She dishevelled. She doesn't even have time to brush her hair. She's overwhelmed. And I'm like, see what you've just said, Syria? That's what you need to do. You need to approach it in the best way possible. Now, this is the thing, if you don't get the reaction that you were hoping for, that your man goes, do you know what, darling? I've had time to think about this, and you're right, I do want you to feel energised, we'll have more sex, all of that. If it doesn't go that way, Zaria, are you better just to
you
know?
have to see if there is a case for a relationship.
Yeah,
Because because of patriarchy, a lot of men struggle to hear a woman because they've been taught to blank a woman. They've seen their fathers blank the wives. They've seen it happen with their own fathers. They've been brought up. I remember watching this man where a woman, their child had hit a girl, and the mom calls the little boy over, and the father shouts at the little boy, "Run, run," to get away from the mother who's saying, "You cannot hurt other people." So I
Wow.
turn to the father and I say, "Why are you disrespecting your wife? Why are you teaching your son to disrespect
Right.
your wife
This is
and run
drama.
away?" And he starts laughing, saying, "You've got issues that you are calling this out." And I said, "No, no, no. What you're doing is emotional abuse.
Oh,
And you are
God.
teaching your child to disrespect their mother. And that's misogyny. And
How
that
did
makes
this
me
go down,
very
Syria?
uncomfortable." Huh?
How did that then land after you
He
said
laughed
that?
and said, "I've got issues." And I said, "Where
Okay.
did you learn that it is funny to make other people hurt and invalidate them?" And he said, "Oh, well, as a kid, it was hilarious. I used to call my brother over, and then I would scream, going, 'Ow, ow, don't hurt me.' And my mom would come out and she would beat my brother, and I would just laugh."
So
And
you're
I
like,
said, that's abuse. And at what point are you going to teach your children that that's not healthy? And he just laughed and he said, "You're the one with the issue if you can't see the humor in that."
and then you continued on with your Aldi shopping like that, right?
I have never,
We're
I
going
said
out
to him,
here.
"I'm really sorry. I can't bring my son to your house ever again because what you were teaching is misogyny is okay. And I want my son to grow up to be a respectful man.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to collect my children and we're going to go home now. And I really wish you well." And I've never spoken to him since.
How
He
did
still
the
lives
wi-
in my village.
how did the wife react?
The wife blocked me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Before that, like half an hour before that, she had asked me and said, "I would really appreciate your support in standing up for me because I'm noticing the patterns of abuse from my childhood being repeated here." So I stood up for her and she blocked me on Facebook like a
That's
few days
interesting.
later.
So
And I
interesting.
think that that's a massive thing that women allow it and they collude against other women who stand up. And that has happened so often when I've stood up, that the women are the ones who go, "Shh, shh, 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 shh,
Yeah.
shh." And the reason is because they're afraid of the men's reactions.
And they're the ones that need to deal with them when the doors are
Yes,
closed. So they go like that. Oh,
yes.
no. I've had the same sort of scenario training a husband and wife. He was talking to her really disrespectfully whilst we were training. So I said, like, you shouldn't be talking about your wife like that. It's disgusting, blah, blah, blah. He stormed away in a huff. And she then said to me, basically, you shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
Yes.
wow, but you shouldn't be spoken to like that either.
No,
So it just shows you
no.
that divide, like, shocking.
It's really shocking. And it is so severe in women of us standing around and not speaking up because of the retaliation that we might get for challenging the patriarchy. But unless we do it, and we all do it, things are not going to change and they're not going to improve for our daughters and our sons. I'm doing that with my son. The moment that he patronizes me, talks over me, I'm like, "Oi." And he's like, "Okay, I saw that. I saw patriarchy in action. I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing it out. I don't want to be like that."
You should just get a t-shirt. Patriarchy, every time they talk, just open it and go, I'm going to get you that for
You see
Christmas.
that? See that?
Patriarchy. Fine. And Aldi.
You just get a little, like a light switch that turns it on.
Patriarchy. You know what I mean? But it's so true. So see if I've got a female client and this is the kind of situation, she's not getting support, she's not getting help, and they have let this go on for 25 years, they've been together for 25 years, they might find it difficult to now introduce this new kind of no patriarchy sort of rule. They've been doing the guys washing, everything, putting themselves last. They're now kind of hitting that perimenopause age where everything starts to reassess. And now they might start acting a bit more like a banshee. So before this kind of happens, could they slowly start to introduce this? Or should they just have a conversation? Listen, this is how it's been. I don't like it anymore. Suck it up, or...
Well, if we come up from criticism, complaint, and negation, just in terms of the system of how our brains work, what we will be met with is defense, shutdown, or attack. And so we want to be able to share in a way. And you could see with that guy, I attacked him. I told him he was being emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
So he mocked, he insulted me. He did everything. I did everything I'm just telling you not to do. And I'm showing you the reaction is that he got defensive. I'll give you another example. My grandfather, he's 82. My grandmother has done everything for him for 60 years. And I'm sitting at the table and he sits down and she just comes and sits and serves and sits and serves and brings everything out. And I said, do you notice what's happening here? And he said, what? I said, do you notice that you've sat and talked to me the whole time and she's been getting the food all the time? I'm wondering, is that like this for every meal? And he said, yes, I don't have a problem with it. I said, I'm sure you don't.
Gosh, you don't.
Have you ever wondered if she does? And he's like, well, she seems happy.
Look at her
And I said,
cooking there. She's smiling.
Do you wonder if she might like it if you gave her a break? And he said, I don't know what to do. I've never done it before. And I said, but what if she dies before you or she gets ill? Then how are you going to do your food? So why don't you get her to show you how to do one of the meals so she could have a break for one of the meals? Then one of the meals of the day, you each do equally and you see what half can each of you do. And then another of the meals she cooks so that it's fair. And he's like, well, I like it how it is. I said, I bet you do, because you have all the time in the world while she's preparing and cooking to write in your office, to do lovely stuff. Do you not think she'd like to be sewing and doing the things she loves instead of just serving you? And he went, oh, I've not thought of that. And I said, you know, after 60 years, do you not think it's time for fairness?
Jesus.
And he
60
was like,
years.
wow. From that day forward, he did every breakfast and half the lunch.
Okay,
she did
that's
the other
nice.
half the lunch,
That's
and
nice.
she did dinner.
Nice.
But after
that
60
went well.
years.
60
And because
years.
nobody had ever pointed it out or said anything to him.
Wow. 60 years?
Yeah.
That's how long it took him to think of that. That just shows you, like, girls, you really need to just address this situation the now. You know what I mean?
Yes. But I didn't do it in a way that you're a useless asshole.
Yes.
I did it in a way that I'm sure you want it to be fair and loving and equal.
And then you can't really say no. Especially if you love the person, you're not going to say no. 100% you're not going to say no.
And if you get a response like you were saying, where somebody after 25 years goes, I'm not happy with this, and they say it in a loving, gentle way, and then you say it again, and they go, I'm not interested in changing. This is how I am. Take it or leave it. And they've got no, they will not do it. Then you don't have a case for an equal relationship. And then you have a choice.
Yeah, you have a choice to stay in that knowing this or make moves to leave, although it's scary and all that, but you want a better life. You've one life, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You've
but
got
that
to make
leverage
the decision.
of saying, I want to go if you don't change, might make him go, well, I'm happy to go to therapy with you. And then, you know, I do RLT therapy with couples, which is a specific therapy that points out the patriarchy.
Yes.
And points out and questions men of, what are you actually doing here? Do you notice your behavior? Do you notice how you talk down? Just wondering, because have you had people talk down to you? How does that feel for you? So that it actually gets them to put themselves in their partner's position and empathize with them.
And do you get quite good responses from the male partners? Like when you're doing that kind of thing, are they kind of like, oh, I didn't realise? Or are they more, well, like, do you get a good response?
It depends on who they are, because if they're very grandiose and entitled and they've been taught that they deserve to be served, they do just look down on people, even on me. And I have to raise myself up and go, hey, we're
Uh-huh.
equals here. And how much does this relationship matter to you? Because you can either continue to be like this, but you're going to lose your wife, or you can look at it and come down and see her as an equal.
That's good. That's good. You're doing the Lord's work, to be honest, Surya, doing this stuff. I actually need to get your details because a few people have asked about therapy with you, and I'm like, she doesn't really use Instagram, which is strange. I have told you that you're a unicorn now because you don't use
I do
Instagram.
very little on Instagram.
She
Yeah,
doesn't do it.
I
That's what I said. I said people who are really good at their job usually don't. So then you're just kind of like lost on how I get hold of you or promote you. I can't really. She's too busy anyway. So we've talked
I'm
about
on
that.
Facebook. Okay,
Give
and
us
then we've
the
got disorganized attachment. Have we got a moment for that? So
yes, we'll do that.
disorganized
This
attachment, the
is
fourth
less
one.
common. This is less common.
This is
No?
less common but more mixed up. So they're
Yes.
beautiful, passionate, creative people, but they have a mix of avoidant and anxious attachment
Oh.
because in their childhood, they had inconsistent parents who also had a level of threat or abuse and were unmet. So they had a mix of neglect and abuse growing up, and as well as abandonment. And so they are desperate for love because they've had doses of goodness, but then they've had a parent pull away. So in love, they are very demanding for attention. And then when you give them any attention, they reject it or they put it down or they're like, I don't know why you think I like
Oh
you.
God. Right, okay. That's a
And then
tricky one.
when you're not giving them love, they're like, why aren't you loving me?
Yeah.
So it's really complex and hard because they've had so much hurt. And so the biggest thing, if you are somebody who's gone through that, the biggest thing for you is to learn to regulate in yourself and to do the trauma work to be able to process all that's happened. Because if you think of all the layers of trauma, so you might have had neglect, abuse, abandonment, your parents have addiction. And so you're filled with all these triggers, and that's how you see the world. You see
Yeah.
the world through the lens of these triggers of they don't love me, they don't care for me, I'm not worthy of anything, I'm desperate for love, but nobody's there for me. So what trauma therapy does, so I do a therapy called brain spotting that is specifically designed for processing trauma in the body. It comes out of EMDR because a lot of therapies like CBT or talk therapy don't actually help for trauma. And so you want a specific therapy that's based on trauma that helps to take all of these lenses that have built up and work through and store the information right in your mind. Their addiction was not my fault. Their abuse is not because I'm bad. Their neglect is not because I'm unlovable. They had those issues because of their childhood. It's not that I deserve to be treated like that. And then as you process that trauma, you get more able to regulate yourself. And then when somebody turns away and they go out, you don't go, oh, you're leaving the house because you don't love me. You're able to go, have a lovely night, darling. I'm looking forward to seeing you later.
Right.
Because you feel more regulated in yourself rather than manipulating others, or able to say, I'm feeling anxious tonight. Could you text me when you get there so I know you're safe?
Yes.
Instead of demanding, raging, I never know where you are. I don't know what you're doing. You
Going
don't
in a
care for me.
huff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or sulking or manipulating. You're
Sulking,
just
yeah.
able to say, hey, I'm feeling like this right now. This is what I need, please.
That's so difficult, isn't it? Like that's a really difficult attachment style. For me, what I used to do if people were going out, because it was almost like, and like they're not spending time with me, they would rather
Yes.
go out, and that's totally normal and fine. I would usually go in a huff and they would normally start to pull back from doing things that they used to enjoy or hanging about with friends that they would do. And then I would want to go out and I'd feel dead suffocated that they were here all the time. But they'd stop going out because of me or doing whatever because I would go in a huff or whatever, instead of just going, right, I want you to go and have a nice time. I'm going to go and do this for myself
Yes.
too.
Yes. And what is helpful if you're with a partner like that is if they are somebody who gets really hurt, you can reassure them. You can say,
Yes.
listen, I so love you and I adore you. And these folk are friends who have this interest, and you don't really like that, but that's a part of me that I love too. And I know that you want to love all of me. So I'm going to go out and do this with them. And then I'm looking forward to coming home and doing X with you, whatever it might be. We watch your favorite Netflix or we do whatever, because I want you to know that I love you and I enjoy spending time with you. They're just different parts of me that need different things. And we can't be everything to everyone because we're different people. And the more that I can get sustained from other people, the more I have energy and love to give to you. So I look forward to seeing you later.
It's just always given that positive enforcement in it.
Yeah, and regulating them, like talking through to the undercurrent of where the sulk is, of seeing that sulkiness, and instead of going, oh God, here you go again, sulking and
Yeah.
huffing, going,
Uh-huh.
hey, I heard a huff. I'm guessing that the huff means that you think that I don't love you right now. I utterly love you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you later.
That's all I wanted. Aha. That would have worked.
Yeah,
It's just so important to find out what your attachment style, what your partner is, so that you can navigate this together. Now I think to myself, if I didn't know what my attachment style was, I would never have been able to get to a securer. I still have relapses though where I fall back into anxious.
yes,
But I wouldn't be able to be with the partner I'm with now. I wouldn't have been strong enough. She's a really strong female. Everything that I would be attracted to, everything that I would have avoided before if I was anxious attachment. So it just shows you how it can totally change the course of life if you don't know what you are
yes,
in this world.
yes. And it makes such a difference to know, because then we can identify it instead of just thinking I'm weird or I'm bad or there's something wrong with me. We're like, okay, I'm anxious, but let's look at what secure is like so you have an idea of where you're going. So
Yes.
should we quickly look at what secure looks
Let's
like?
let's do secure and then I'm going to let you leave. But I
Okay,
love
great.
having you on.
It's such a joy to be with you.
I love it too.
So secure is in secure attachment, you've had a parent who meets your needs, who's responsive, who doesn't make you wrong, who holds space for what you feel, who cares about you. They're attuned to you instead of you having to go, Mommy, are you okay? They're like, I'm here for you. And because they're there for you, if you show an interest, instead of picking up a piece of paper and going, Mommy, look what I've done, the parent doesn't go, really? You think that's good? They go, oh, look at the colors. You've used orange and yellow. That's
Uh-huh.
so bright and beautiful. And the child goes, wow, I'm interesting and lovely. And it grows their sense of self. So as an adult, they know themselves. They know what they like. They love themselves. They're able to hold space for all the different contradicting emotions that are happening, the anxiety, the anger, the hurt, all of them at once, because they feel comfortable in emotions, because they weren't made wrong for them or shamed for them. They can empathize with themselves and hold space for what their partner's going through. So their partner might be going through contradictory things, they're going through contradictory things, and everything is welcome. And they can respond to themselves. They can say, wow, when you say that when I came home and I was late, that you felt betrayed, I really felt scared or anxious or upset. And like, how could you not trust me? But I could really see how that would make you feel so hurt, like I didn't come home on time. And it would make you think, given what happened to you in your past, that I didn't love you. But I need you to know how much I do love you and I care. So they're able to hold space and see the dances
Yes.
between you. They can regulate themselves. They're not going to, secure isn't like, I never feel any emotions because I'm always happy. That's avoidant.
Yes.
That's not secure. Avoidant is I don't feel any emotions. Secure is I feel the full range of emotions and I can regulate myself in whatever I'm feeling and stay connected to loving me and loving you. And that takes sometimes setting boundaries on my emotions so I'm not taking them out on you. And it sets limits on how you're treating me. You can feel what you feel, but you can't hurt me. You can't manipulate me. You can't treat me like that. And then on the other side of that, they're very playful because they're not baggaged down by the levels of trauma that those of us with anxious attachment, avoidant, or disorganized attachment
Very
have.
heavy.
Yeah, and it feels like walking in treacle sometimes. Securely attached people.
Or eggshells.
Yeah. They feel playful and they're able to have more fun and be more free in the world, not as a place from that disorganized attachment of kind of manic fun because you desperately avoided your feelings. This is from natural ease and joy because you feel great about yourself and about life. So that's where we kind of want to grow towards.
And that takes a bit of self-work, doing stuff like working with yourself. Do you do virtual stuff, Surya?
Do I do what?
Like, do you do virtual sort of therapy sessions? Because obviously a lot of
my therapy is virtual. So I do individual work and I do couples work. And I also have a membership for people who've had neglect, trauma, or abuse. And we run weekly group sessions where I help them with whatever skills that they are struggling with, whether it's regulating or communicating, parenting, whatever they're going through, to be able to support them to grow that sense of self, to feel great about themselves. So I do a mix of 3 therapies. I do brain spotting for processing trauma. I do attachment therapy for helping people to grow the skills to parent themselves and parent their kids. And then I do RLT, which is relational life therapy, which is couples therapy, of noticing the patriarchy, seeing the dynamics that are.
Yes, I'm getting asked a lot about this one from you, if you do that. So do you just do it virtually, your partner sitting next to you type of thing?
Everything is virtual. Well, even some people are like, my partner is in America and I'm in Scotland. Great.
Okay,
I do it on Zoom. So, you can be long distance and that's completely fine.
Well, what I'll do is I'll get your actual like work contact off you if you email it to me, and then I can give it to people so they can email you. Is that the best way to get in touch with yourself?
Great. I've got a little link and they can just also fill in a form to work with me and
then you can filter it. Oh no, not her. Good then. Well, thank you so much.
That was so good.
So good. And I'll come into your membership. We'll do a wee swap, say whatever you want to do.
It would be so much fun. They would love
that.
And
I might actually get my partner a session with you. Not that I think she's got, but more for the kids. Like, I think that, I think it's important for every parent to get a bit of help on how to parent certain types of kids.
So helpful, because I don't think we notice and realize the things that happen in our childhood 100%. That are then blocking our capacity to love. And it's not our fault that we had that or that our love is blocked, but it is our responsibility to notice, I'm not comfortable with how I'm doing this because I can see the fear or the pain in my kid's face. And I really want to be able to parent with love so that they grow up secure, happy, and we create a better world through the parenting.
So I think I'll get her a wee session. Happy birthday. There you go. She'll be like, what the fuck's that? You're saying I'm shit?
The thing is about it is that you can't really give somebody a session because the thing about doing therapy is they have to choose it. Because they have to want to change.
Listen,
we can't
it's the same with personal training. I used to get a lot of husbands coming up to me saying, I'm going to buy my wife personal training for Christmas. And I'm like, are you about to call your wife fat on Christmas Day? Because if that's the case, if that's what's going to happen, no. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing. But I'm sure she would, because she is really like all about her kids and would love to probably parent them in the best way possible, Right, I'm going to let you leave.
Great. All right. Loads of love to you and to everybody else, sending you so much love. Good luck on your journey.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. I'm sad. I'm so sad to see her go there. Bye, Surya. Love you. Right, I'm trying not to be an anxious, attached person. Do you think she'll ever come back? I feel abandoned.